This presentation explores three interconnected documents: the panopticon and the three big industrial complexes, All About Love by Bell Hooks, and Are Prisons Obsolete by Angela Davis. Through excerpts, discussion, activities, and writing prompts, these materials examine surveillance, institutional control, emotional care, collective liberation, and the ways identity and public life are shaped by systems of power. Section 1. Panopticon and the Big Three Industrial Complexes. The prison industrial complex transforms visibility into control and survival into performance for queer, formerly incarcerated people, while the architecture of the panopticon shapes the body, psyche, and public identity through surveillance and isolation. Its central tower, mirrored visibility, and radial central cells become metaphors for the housing, medical, and educational industrial complexes, which organize bodies through observation, separation, and behavioral control. The housing industrial complex uses radial cell structures to reinforce invisibility, instability, and restricted movement. The medical industrial complex mirrors the central tower through constant observation, diagnosis, and regulation of the body. The educational industrial complexes uses fluorescent visibility, conformity, and behavioral discipline to encourage self-monitoring. Activity, architectural mapping. Participants connect structural elements of the panopticon to institutional systems through drawing, collage, annotation, and spatial analysis. Discussion question. How does constant visibility influence the way people perform identity and safety within institutional systems? Section 2. Bell Hooks, All About Love. Bell Hooks examined how systems of domination, emotional control, and institutional power shape identity, intimacy, education, and public life. In All About Love, Bell Hooks argues that love is an intentional practice rooted in care, trust, accountability, and collective healing rather than instinct alone. Excerpt. When we understand love as the will to nurture our own and another's spiritual growth, it becomes clear that we cannot claim to love if we are hurtful and abusive. Love and abuse cannot coexist. Pressed in therapy to describe my household of origin in terms of whether it was loving or not, I painfully admitted that I did not feel loved in our household, but that I did feel cared for, and outside my household of origin, I felt genuinely loved by individual family members. We do not have to love. We choose to love. Since the choice must be made to nurture growth, this definition counters the more widely accepted assumption that we love instinctively. Activity 2. Build two contrasting tableaus. Participants create one tableau representing maintenance, obligation, and survival, and another centered on emotional affirmation, vulnerability, care, and belonging. Writing prompt. Write about the difference between being protected, managed, and genuinely loved. Angela Davis's Are Prisons Obsolete? Davis examines how prison surveillance, racism, and institutional power shape public life while challenging audiences to imagine alternatives to punishment-based systems. In Prisons Are Obsolete, Davis argues that incarceration has become a normalized response to inequality and institutional neglect, connecting prisons to systems like housing, healthcare, and education. Housing industrial complex excerpt. Southern slaves, prison inmates followed a daily routine specified by their superiors. Both institutions reduced their subjects to dependence on others for the supply of basic human services such as food and shelter. Both isolated their subjects from the general population by confining them to a fixed habitat. Medical excerpt. The drastic expansion of the prison population and the rapid construction of new prisons can be directly linked to the shrinking social welfare programs, including mental health services. There may be twice as many people suffering from mental illness who are in jails and prisons than there are in all psychiatric hospitals in the United States combined. When many young people decide to join the military services in order to avoid the unavailability of a stint in prison, it should cause us to wonder whether we should or should not try to introduce better alternatives. The question is whether education, employment, recreation, and community life can be transformed so that imprisonment is no longer viewed as inevitable. Liberation Blueprint Workshop. Participants collaboratively design and imagine community structured around restorative justice, accessibility, care, and collective accountability. Writing. Reflect on how prisons, surveillance, or punishment were represented in the environments you grew up around. Conclusion. All About Love and Our Prisons Obsolete are both available through the Libby app with your public library card, which is on omahapubliclibrary.com, and both of them are available as free audiobooks on YouTube, encouraging continued reflection, accessibility, and engagement beyond this presentation. Additional activities, discussion questions, and writing prompts are included throughout each section to encourage further conversations, creative exploration, critical reflection, and collective engagement. This is the Mother Galactic signing out. This has been Smart Thoughts, where thoughts are smart and smart is thought. Press 15.